So, well, stating the obvious, Gypsy has been found out to be lying and possibly, I'm saying possibly, no, she is. She's violating her parole, so she should be going back to jail, but she's not going to. However, I'm doing just this to update people and catch people up because we got to establish first she's a pathological liar. Right. Let's establish that clearly and then move forward. And I'll do a follow-up video very quickly about the parole violations, which are demonstrably true. There's not speculation. It's not rumor. She's definitely violating the parole. She doesn't care. So for those who don't know, and it is, we'll definitely emphasize she is a victim here. She's definitely has a tragic story. Let's be very clear, very tragic story. Gypsy grew up with a very disturbed mother who forced her to fake having various disabilities to make money. So for a lot of her life, she pretended to be sick. She wasn't sick. She apparently does have a few medical issues, but a lot of this was just made up out of nowhere. And she alleges that Dee Dee, the mother, forced her, even physically forced her to do these things because if not, right, because she was tied to the bed, leashes, the whole thing. The police found none of this. Again, parts of the story could still be true. I definitely do think her mother, frankly, I don't care that she's dead. I don't care that she's murdered. She seemed like an awful mother. However, we're just getting into the facts of the situation and whether Gypsy was telling the truth. So several things are clearly true and not true. Like she's still pretending that she maintains that the one really responsible for the murder is Nick, her boyfriend at the time, decades ago. But there are problems, right? For one thing, Nick is an idiot. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean that in the literal sense. The guy is mentally very, very slow. Because the real story seems to be that Gypsy seduced him, plied him with somewhat true stories about her tragic past, and he, being very much in love, and they had a lot of sex, right? Bear this in mind too, because he's also put out this very fake narrative that, oh, she didn't understand. She didn't understand. It was all overwhelming. With Dr. Phil and other people, she admits straight up she's had a lot of BDSM fantasies, which he played out, including with Nick. So she is maintaining this very weird, I'm totally innocent. I don't know stuff. I'm very, very, I don't know the ways of the world, guys. But there is irrefutable proof that she pre-planned the murder for years. This has been planned out for a long time. For a long time. Now, again, want to emphasize, don't care about the mother. The mother is a monster. However, this was not an act of passion. It was not an accident. It wasn't just the trauma, and it triggered her, and it was just no. She planned this out. She planned it. Nick committed it, but it was both of them planning it. We have irrefutable evidence. So now, of course, a lot of alarming questions come to you like, well, wait a minute. Okay. She got caught. She went to jail. Fine. She didn't serve the full term, but she was sentenced to 10 years. Nick is still in jail. Now, whether you like Nick, don't like Nick, think she should be released, she needs to get more blame, whatever, he's still in jail. That's a fact. And he's still facing a pretty stiff sentence. So the question is, for the same crime, why is she even released? And she's violating her parole. She's not going back to jail. As of this recording, right now, she ain't going back to jail. What happened? So you might think, well, maybe there wasn't strong enough evidence. No. The prosecutor publicly affirmed they had overwhelming evidence to have her guilty for first-degree murder. But apparently, for political reasons, elections, right, it's a political process, as well as apparently they felt sympathy for her, which is true. She was definitely victimized. They allowed her to get a plea deal, right? That plea deal was not there automatically. It only came after a certain amount of time. So it's the complete opposite of what you think. Well, maybe there's not enough evidence, and the prosecutor was nervous, right? They have to make a calculation saying, okay, I know you're guilty. We have the evidence you're guilty, but there's a chance. No, it's the complete opposite. They knew she was lying. They knew she's a killer, and they know that many things don't line up with her fairy tale, but they had sympathy, so they let her plead to a lesser charge. And in exchange, she testified against Nick. Now, again, I don't really feel that sorry for Nick, but clearly it's insane. He got backstabbed, and he was stupid enough not to realize that he planned the whole thing out, including, just in case they got caught, he was going to take the fall for everything because he was just dumb admitting to all these things he didn't have to in these interviews. And it is just heartbreaking because he's actually asking, so can I see Gypsy now? Can I talk to her now? No, that's not going to happen. Okay. So the guy is pretty demonstrably not intelligent. He just has very weak mental skills. Hate to be brutal. That's what happened. So it is what it is. She got lucky. She found a really stupid guy, and the stupid guy just believed everything she said, even up to when they got arrested. He still trusted her and thought, oh, I can trust her, while she was making a deal to get a lesser charge, even though she's just as guilty. We have the text, we have everything. She was planning it with him the whole time. There's no evidence that, oh, she had second thoughts or, oh, no, she was being manipulated. But publicly, after she got out of jail, we're not even going to get into her romance life too much, although that's a part of her pathological life. So, very briefly, she had a relationship with Ken while in prison. Okay. Then she married Ryan when she left prison. Okay. Keep this in mind. She recently got divorced from Ryan. Ryan in public said, yeah, Nick. Oh, yeah, Nick is a manipulator. I think my poor Gypsy, she's the victim here. Yeah, Gypsy is the victim. Nick is the manipulator. So that's her master fairy tale. And even after Ryan was kicked to the side, he's still wondering about things, saying, I'm very confused. I don't understand. Really? Well, it seems pretty obviously simple. She managed to successfully seduce Nick, then seduce Ryan, and she's laughing all the way to the bank. And now she's blatantly violating her parole. She's not going back to jail. She's a multimillionaire. It's a hustle. It's a scam. It's a long con. It is what it is. But now we have tons of evidence. We have tons of receipts that, yeah, it's a con, but a lot of people are still wanting to believe. And listen, I do. I still feel sorry for her because that is just a horrific childhood. That is a horrifying childhood. But now it looks a little bit more complicated. Now, no doubt her mother takes most of the blame. But it does seem, beyond a certain point, she knew she was play acting. She wasn't being gaslit. She wasn't being lied to. She was aware of the deception because they were making a lot of money. They were getting all these donations from her alleged sicknesses. And she understood, saying, we got to keep pretending to keep making the money. But she did tell the truth to a neighbor who helped the police. And she was like, yeah, we know that, no, she's fine. She's not disabled. She can walk. She can run. So now that this is all coming apart, she's like, okay, guys, I'm sorry. I messed up. I'm leaving the Instagram. I'm leaving. No. Instagram is fake life. TikTok fake. I'm stopping that. So she did. She did deactivate last year her Instagram, and she did get off TikTok. And then she came back. Right. Now, again, should we care? Do you feel sorry? I mean, and also who's she lying to? She's lying to Kim Kardashian. Who cares? But nevertheless, there are two things which are factual. One is that Nick clearly was severely overpunished. At the very least, they should have co-equal punishment. That didn't happen. Again, they don't need her testimony. They didn't need the testimony. They had enough evidence. But it is what it is. Okay, fine. So she hustled a very short prison sentence because really, for the crime, 8 years is a pretty mild sentence. Imagine if we found out tomorrow, Danny Masterson, he's got 8 years. 8 years? That's kind of low. Well, you see, Danny, we got to feel sorry, He grew up in Scientology. He's a bit of a, yeah. But there you go. So she played the system. It is what it is. But now, too, factually, she's violating the parole. She going to jail? Apparently not. So it's not just there's an injustice that Nick is suffering too much for his crime. Okay, maybe don't feel sorry for him. She's blatantly violating her parole, and everyone's like, it's Gypsy. She's a celebrity. She can do these things. She's the new Taylor Swift. She's a multimillionaire. It's okay. Right. So Nick is staying in jail. Ryan was lied to. She's been lying to tons of other people, but it's okay because, she's Gypsy. She's a woman. It's feminism, guys. Alrighty then. Alrighty then. But we'll get into strong evidence of her violating the parole and still not suffering any punishment because, she lives the TikTok life, I guess.